And here we go. As you look at the satellite picture, realize that what we're looking at off of the coast, not a marine layer, but wildfire haze or smoke. You can see how the clouds are arcing well up around the Pacific Northwest. And in fact, most areas are seeing just a deep blue sky like we enjoyed yesterday. Okay, here's that what I'm calling Johnny on the spot futurecast smoke animation, because going all the way back to Labor Day night, this model has been almost perfect in terms of where the smoke ends up. So the yellow is what we're seeing visibly right now, crawling up parts of the coast through Newport, making its way up toward Tillamook as well. The blue color's nothing. I mean, there might be technically some smoke being detected, but we're not visibly seeing it. Here we are at 9 p.m. tonight. First little wave in that faint yellow of maybe noticing some increasing haze here in the Portland area. But during the day tomorrow, all the way bumping up into the Cascades, up through Astoria, Kelso, Longview. Now we're seeing what we think will be at least some noticeable white haze in the sky from the California wildfires. And that continues, and there are some thicker spots here and there in the animations that play through 4 o'clock. Now, I want to go ahead, that's Friday. I do want to pull out and show you the wide view Saturday. And the point of this Saturday, see those magenta kind of reddish colors down over California? Remember, those are the colors that we were under when our wildfires were raging that week of Labor Day. So there are no signs that we're going to get anything close to that. But there could be enough smoke. The air quality deteriorates at least into the moderate zone and maybe at times worse. Again, we're really not sure. We'll wait until tomorrow to see how thick the wildfire smoke is or is not. But right now I wouldn't overly worry about it. Air quality is pretty much good all areas. This map does not show an unhealthy site that I do see from another product that's outside of Medford down in southwestern Oregon.